Kowalski.
The sun is down, the streetlights are on, and you're listening to Largely the Truth with Brennan Storr.
To all you restless sleepers and midnight creepers, bleary-eyed truckers in the graveyard shift, this is Brennan Storr, and you're listening to Largely the Truth. Whether you're staring at a screen or the lines on the road, all is well, and for the next 90 minutes, it's going to stay that way. Because I'm here, you're there, and together, we're going to explore the night. Welcome back to that little music show that could, where we play you the best in the last 30 days of independent music and, well, sometimes get to meet some cool people along the way. As always, I'm coming to you from the corner booth of the Neon Garden, at the edge of the map, where the sea meets the sky. And I am happy to be here. Folks, it is April. Spring has sprung, and I know this because for the last month I've existed in a semi-permanent sneeze state. And thanks to heroic doses of antihistamines, it has gone away for the time being. And that's a good thing, because we have a very special guest here with us tonight. And on this show, I've been very vocal about my love of radio, how I grew up in Revelstoke listening to CKCR, and eventually had this very show on Stoke FM. But in the grand scheme of things, I'm very new to the format. And tonight we are lucky enough to talk to a veteran of broadcasting. She is the former longtime music director and daytime host of KOMP 92.3 Las Vegas and founder of the indie station KILPOP. She is Carlota. Carlota, welcome to Largely the Truth.
Look at you, man. You said my name right and everything. I love it.
I listen
Thank
sometimes.
Yeah. Hey, you right on it. I love it. Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for taking the time. I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah, thank you.
As I mentioned, I used to have this show on 92.5 Stoke FM up here on the West Coast, and I eventually pulled it. And when I did, I considered doing something along the lines of what you've done with KILPOP, but I just couldn't pull it together. So it's exciting to talk to someone who actually made that happen.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, we totally. What would you like to know, darling?
Well, I'm actually really curious. Tell us a little bit just about yourself, about your career, because you were with KOMP for 20 plus years, yeah?
I was with yes. Well, I've been in Las Vegas for 20 plus years. I started my career in a podunk town in the middle of California, where incest is best, relatively speaking, and that really is no joke. But it was. I started there, and then I was in Fresno for 6 years.
I'm so sorry.
And I know. I like to be positive about it and call it Fres. Yes.
It's all about perspective.
Yeah, no doubt. But what happened was I was doing nights at a rock station there, and I saw an ad that said, "Do you have what it takes to follow Howard Stern?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I think I do. I'm a crazy bitch. Let's go." And so I put a tape together of my most rancid, just craziness, and I got a call. And it was a station called Extreme Radio here in Las Vegas. And they flew me in, and the general manager asked me, "Well, why should we hire you?" And I was like, "Because I have balls." And he looked at me and I literally said that to him, and he looked at me and he went, "Okay." And that was it. And I walked out, and I was like, well, I'm either going to get the gig or I'm not, And before I was even home from the airport, they called and offered me the job. So I moved out in Vegas in 1998 for Extreme Radio.
Right. And
I was there for 4 years. And then, my boss was kind of a jerk, and I didn't like him. He didn't like me, and things happened. And so I ended up at Comp 92.3 for 18 years, where I was the music director and the middays. And I'd still be there if it wasn't for COVID. So,
okay. I wondered what brought about the transition. I wondered if that was sort of a, well, I'm done, time to move on, or if it was Rona related.
It was Rona. Rona's a bitch. She rocked up in there and she said, "You know what? You make too much money. You got to go." Line item delete. You got to go. And that's business. Radio was bleeding. They were hemorrhaging. Everybody was when Rona hit. And, especially Vegas, I'm sure especially other cities, but Vegas, I mean, our whole being is dependent on like nightlife and
Sure.
gambling and shows and concerts and everything, and all of it stopped. So that was our bread and butter. And I made too much money. You had to go. I mean, I didn't even make a lot of money, but I was definitely one of the bigger numbers on the staff. So you have to go. And so I did. And I floated in a pool for 4 months. Didn't listen to music at all.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Really just cleansed of everything. And kind of wondered what I was going to do with my life during that time. And I had KILPOP already, which we'll talk about, but not KILPOP radio. I hadn't done that yet. And I floated and I did commodities, which I know we're going to talk about. And I just, and I didn't start listening to music until I lost my job in June of 20. I probably didn't start listening to music myself in my car purposefully until probably late October.
All right. So earlier I misspoke. This is going to be a 2-hour show, not a 90-minute show. And Carlota is going to be with us the entire time. So strap in because it's going to be a ride. Tonight's set starts with the latest from Andrew WK from his upcoming album, God is Partying. This is I'm in Heaven.
And the place I'm from can turn a boy into a man like a flash in the pan. Oh, they don't make it like you here. Well, I learned to live with the things I hate. Yeah, the things I hate. Things I hate are what make you great. What I hate is what makes you great. Yeah, the things I hate. Things I hate are what make you great.
Welcome back to Largely the Truth. That was Gall from New York City with Singe from their album Rot Away Together. Before that was some Canadian content. That was Ashley Schatz from Oshawa, Ontario with Millennial Music from the 2021 compilation Black and Loud Volume 2. You're actually going to hear a number of tracks from that compilation on tonight's show, and that's just because it is a great goddamn compilation of music. Finally, we started with Andrew WK and I'm in Heaven, and that's from his upcoming album God is Partying, available on, I believe, September 21st. So of course we are here tonight with Carlota, founder of KILPOP Radio and veteran broadcaster, and before the music break she was telling us about her path from comp radio in Las Vegas to creating KILPOP, and if I remember correctly, you were telling us about taking a 4-month break from music completely, and then the playlist that got you back into it. Now I gotta know, what was on that playlist?
Okay, so I was going to do a show. Somebody asked me to host a show for an hour. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do that, And they're like, oh, no, I was a friend. I was like, all right. So I built a playlist, and that playlist was Static X.
Oh, wow, okay.
Prong. Yeah. I was like, I'm going to, I get to make my own playlist, Deep Corn, Tool, all the stuff that really KILPOP Radio turns out to be very driven in that way.
Sure.
It inspired KILPOP Radio in many ways, that one playlist.
I was going to say, I've been listening to KILPOP on and off the last couple of days, and that really fits. That about sums up the vibe very nicely.
It was like, oh man, I really enjoyed this combo, this, I don't think rock radio was doing what we're doing. And I think rock listeners are a little bit more savvy than we give them credit for, in the sense that, we either want to cater to the arms folded crowd, which is, it's not metal enough. It's never metal enough. I don't care how metal you are. And I can't cater to those people. I like metal a lot, but I can't cater to that. When I was at Extreme Radio in the late 90s and so forth, it was very much what is happening with KILPOP Radio. It was a mix. It was industrial and punk and alternative and Tool and Korn, so it was all that metal, that type of metal. And we were the first station in the country to play Eminem.
Really?
Yeah. The Real Slim Shady, we broke it on a station where Slipknot was also on the playlist. So, and it worked and people loved it. So I feel like when I was putting KILPOP Radio together, I was like, I feel like I can open up this genre a little bit and give you a lot of rock, but also kind of give you a little taste of where things are coming from. We play the Clash,
right.
Clash inspired so much of rock that we know. So why aren't rock stations playing the Clash?
Great question.
Right. So I just sort of decided, I just took a lot of my career. I was in alternative radio. I was in active rock. I was at an Extreme Radio, which was a mix of both. And then I was at a pretty solid rock station for years. And I just put it all together in one pot and said, let's see how this goes. And that's where we are. Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that the KILPOP itself predates the station. So yeah. What was its initial incarnation?
Well, what's funny is because I was in my I'm an older woman. I was in my mid 40s and I was like, one day radio's going to kick me to the curb, right? One day. Right. It happened to everybody. And so, which turned out to be Rona, but whatever. So I was like planning for it. I was like, what am I going to do, in my later years that is still related to what I do, my career, the thing I love the most, which is, this music and radio and all that. And so I created KILPOP, which started out as a sort of, and it still is, except for Rona interrupting it, an online MTV format type thing, minus the music videos. So let's say I take Corey Taylor ghost hunting, or I've done
cool.
where, I've played Name That Tune with Papa Jacoby from Papa Roach. And we would make these cool, fun interview videos. Or I'd go to Jason Hook's house and we'd check out his house and all his guitars and his cats,
Right.
And so we had a lot of fun. We were doing fun videos with artists and showing different sides of the artist, and putting artists in positions that made them happy and enjoyable. So then we would get these cool interviews because of it. Right.
Right.
And that's where we started. But it was really dependent on the artist being busy and touring. So when Rona hit, it wiped that out too, because they're not on the road and they're not going to get in a car with me.
Yeah, that's more than anything. Distancing. No one's getting in the car.
No, I mean, so KILPOP started out as a fun video interview, online MTV sort of format thing. But we also did, events, and we could help concerts, like we could help bands sell tickets, because we would do like these cool like concert promo spots for them.
Right.
So we were becoming a full service rock entity and content provider. And then when Rona hit, we were kind of like, boom. And now with the radio station, it kind of actually gives KILPOP a core that KILPOP didn't have before, because now with the radio station, everything can come off that, right? Everything can come off the radio station. So in many ways it's worked out, but KILPOP has been around since 2016, early 16.
All right, so it's time for a few more tunes. We're going to start off this set of 3 with another track from that Black and Loud compilation. This is Bunk and the Wizard, Part 3.
Bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum. Oh, shit. look like your head fell on the cheese dip back in 1957.
Saturday night and my gas lights on. Yeah, all tucked up, you know where to go. Yeah, please can you help me? I'm on the road. I just need a place to blow my load. Almost down, almost down, almost down. I'm running on fumes. Almost down, almost down, almost down. I'm running on fumes. Big boy cock, big boy cock, big boy cock. Yeah, I'll take you. Big boy cock, big boy cock, big boy cock. Yeah, I'll take you. Are you looking at me? Yeah, you know where I'll be. Yeah, down at the gas pump. Yeah, fill it the fuck up. I'll take you. I'll take you. Oh, oh.
Welcome back to Largely the Truth. I'm your host, Brennan Storr, and that was Big PP Camaro, and running on fumes. I don't name them, folks. I just play them, but I don't know. God help me, I kind of had fun with that one. So take from that what you will. Before that was VHS with They Live, We Sleep from their Viewer's Choice demo tape. That's a 2-track demo on Bandcamp. In fact, most of the artists, not most, all of the artists you hear on tonight's show are all available on Bandcamp. And of course, we started the set with Bunk and the Wizard, Part 3. So of course, I'm here tonight with Carlota, founder of KILPOP Radio. She's been telling us about her musical journey. Before the break, she was describing how KILPOP had started as almost an MTV-style YouTube channel with lots of different opportunities for musicians and acts to participate in fun little videos. And this sounds similar to something we used to have here in Canada. Are you familiar with the Canadian performer Ed the Sock, Stephen Kersner?
No.
Okay, so he was a personality on our version of MTV, Much Music, back in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Okay.
And he just has just concluded a crowdfunding campaign to launch New Music Nation, which is essentially really the Canadian version of what you're describing. He's got VJs trained up that he's sort of picked from a number of auditions, and so they're launching something similar up here in the Great White North. I actually did a little bit of work with them, and and so it's fascinating that there's sort of we're rediscovering this need for this kind of programming, because really, I mean, Much Music shit the bed the same way MTV did.
Totally.
It was no longer about music. And so I'm kind of curious, why do you think people are sort of now waking up and wanting that kind of content? Obviously not now for you, because you've been doing it for 5 years, but do you think that there's always been that market there, or do you think people's attitudes are just changing again?
I think the market's always been there, especially in rock music. People just don't want to feed rock people their stuff. Like, they just don't want to listen to them, right? Like, you don't matter. You don't matter. But it's always been there, because when you hear people talk about MTV, they talk about how great it was and now how great it isn't now, right? Just once they went away from the format of, music and having fun with the artist and doing all that stuff that was all about music, people loved that. And when they went away from it, people were very upset and angry, and they still are. You can just hear it in their voice when they talk about MTV. So
Sure.
I don't know that anything has changed. I just feel like I think they're hungry, and hungrier than they were before because they weren't being fed.
Absolutely. I mean, I was thinking that, especially now in the age of social media where people want to feel connected to artists, you know,
Right.
they want to be able to reach out and touch these guys and kind of see them as people. What you're
Right.
describing seems like the perfect conduit for that.
Correct. And that was my whole thing behind it. You know, and I have relationships with these artists.
Right.
So I was able to get it done because of my relationship, my long-term relationship with many of them. But yeah, and people loved it. I mean, if you look at the Corey Taylor videos, or, you know, the Vinnie Paul stuff, and, you know, I mean, it's people love to know those cool little things about, you know, Vinnie Paul, air hockey guy, you know.
Yeah.
You know, Corey Taylor's a huge ghost hunter, big comic book kid, you know, whatever. And it made people connected to those artists. And that's what we wanted to do and still do. And I think we're going to be able to do it more now that we have the radio station in tow, when they get back to, you know, life.
Yeah. And I mean, based on your assessment of what you're seeing down there, is it looking likely that concerts will be returning? I mean, ballpark this year? I mean, we're a little behind you guys in terms of the vaccine curve up here in Canada.
Right.
We're still in pretty hardcore lockdown. I think we've only really got about 12 million people with a first dose. So
Right.
So it'll be a while before we kind of come out of the groundhog hole. But for you guys, what do you think?
You know, it looks that way. I mean, there's a lot of festivals that are being lined up right now: Rockfest, Aftershock,
Oh wow.
Rebel Fest. You know, Corey Taylor himself, speaking of, is hitting the road here in about 3 weeks. He's going to be doing a tour in a COVID tour, in the sense that he's going to be hitting cities that are more open and than others, you know. So basically no California shows, but
Right.
you know, he'll be, you know, there's a lot of places in the States that are open. There's rules that you can only have so many people, or you can only do this or that. But so he's hitting the road. So live music is coming back here in the States. Now, what is going to happen when all that goes down? Are we going to surge again? Are things going to go crazy again? Like India is on fire right now, right?
Yeah.
Like it's bad. So, you know, we don't want that here. So I know everybody's getting vaccinated and everything's going down pretty well, but live music is coming back so far. I know the Megadeth tour just got canceled, or parts of it, but I don't know if that's because Mustaine is sick or if it's COVID related, but I think it's probably more personal to Mustaine.
Oh, okay. Is it, he's like sick, like COVID sick, or do you know?
No, I think he has cancer.
Oh, Jesus, that's terrible.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's an illness going on with Mustaine that he's been fighting. So I don't know. But I do know, I haven't read why Megadeth has canceled some shows, but they have. I do know that. Man.
That's rough.
Yeah, I know. His daughter put out some music. Did you hear about that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, Dave Mustaine's daughter put out some emo, dancey, I don't know, some sort of EDC or whatever, you know, I don't know, but something way different than Megadeth. But she's doing music, so.
Is it good? Is it?
I have no idea. I don't like that music, so.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
I just read it. I was like, oh, Mustaine's daughter's doing music. God, we're old.
Yeah, I hear that. All right, so we're going to take a break for more tunes. Again, I'm Brennan Storr. This is Largely the Truth. We're hanging out with Carlota. And this is Riding the Low with Skull on Concrete.
Fate decides in some far-off region I'm alive. Just some bad intentions, fight it out with someone else's son tonight. Well, you might as well size a line in this dogged season. Thoughts of youth go racing through me, stages high and high. It's driven from my hands. It's driven from me, stepping out to new
coals of fire. You're gonna grow and take them all out one by one. Your pen is gonna be society's metal pliers. You're not one of us. Your ugly heart does not break it right. Your chanted words been destined to crush. 'Cause you are not one of As your power grows up deficit, you feast on famine. Your social awkwardness will seize the day. You're building walls and digging holes of personal freedom. A design for living where the heart will die young. You're not one of us. Your ugly heart does not break your rush. Your chanted words turned us into crush. 'Cause you did not speak for us.
Welcome back to Largely the Truth. That was the Tino Bad with Doll's House, and that's the A-side of their Doll's House / Bears and Sharks single. Before that was Roach and R.I.P. Soft Serve. That's another track from Black and Loud Volume 2. And we started with Skull on Concrete by Riding the Low from their album They Will Rob You of Your Gifts. Speaking of gifts, we are back here having a chat with Carlota, founder of KILPOP Radio, and very, very patient person, willing to sit for a long interview with yours truly. So in terms of starting the KILPOP station, was it much of a process? Because as I mentioned, I briefly considered doing something like that when I pulled my show from Stoke FM. I tried to contact SOCAN to talk about licensing, because obviously, you know, I could start a Mixler station or something, but still, I don't want to be doing it flying blind. I want to make it legit from the beginning. And I could not get an answer from SOCAN. They kept bouncing me from one person to another. I couldn't get a figure. And so I'm kind of curious, was it much of a hassle for you? Were you kind of bound up in that kind of bullshit, or was it a simpler process?
Yeah, total bullshit. So it took, one of the reasons it took us so long to launch from the time that we agreed that we were doing this is because of licensing. Here in the States, you need 3 licenses, and now we just found out we need a 4th.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I mean, talk about just highway robbery. Like, it just feels very criminal. But we had to get ASCAP, BMI, CSCAP, or something like that. And now there's a 4th one out of the blue. And then we also have a blanket license for the rest of the world. That makes us worldwide. So we're in Canada, obviously, but we're in other countries as well. Actually, I think the whole world.
Oh, wow.
But it's a blanket license. But yes, the licensing was the absolute biggest, most treacherous hurdle. And the app, a little bit building the app and doing all that and getting it ready and going through Apple this and that and Android this and that. But the licensing was, I mean, that part just feels criminal to me.
And do you think that's an intentional barrier to sort of to entering that space? Because it is such a heavily corporate space now.
Yeah, I think so. Or either that or, I mean, yeah, probably. Because I think about unemployment, right? You think about any sort of like government or regulated or any DMV, any of that type of stuff that you have to go through.
Right.
You have to deal with if you want to do whatever that is, drive, make money when you're unemployed, have a radio station and play music. I think they just make it hard on you. Just, I don't know, because they have cush gigs, and they can whatever, we'll get to you when we want.
Right.
I feel unemployment does it to just deter you from getting unemployment. But yeah, I don't know why they would make it so difficult for radio stations, independent radio stations to do this, because it's more money in their pocket.
You would think some of these folks though seem to have an aversion. Maybe if you have enough money, you just don't worry about making more. I don't know. I've never been in that position.
They're just, that's what I mean. They're just they have cush gigs. They don't need it, and they can treat you like shit because I don't need you. Yeah. That's what it feels like the hot chick who thinks she's all that, and you're trying hard to get with her, and she's like, but then you finally do, and it costs you everything.
Ah, yes. Been there. Time for another tune break. This is John Crow, and Nothing Remains.
This next one
I'm Brennan Storr. You're listening to Largely the Truth.
Nothing Remains, or as we named it, Nada Más Queda. Enjoy.
This is Shannon from Into the Fray, and you're listening to Largely the Truth with Brennan Storr.
And we're back. That was Empire of Pain by Old Moon Madness from their record of the same name. And before that was Khalil Stemler and What Do You Take Me For? So that leads me to my question about really what your thoughts on sort of the future of radio and the viability of radio, because I know up here the general consensus is that it's a dying format, especially terrestrial radio,
Correct.
So do you feel the same, or do you think there's a future in streaming radio? Because I know we've kind of gone so far into the customizable, you can listen to whatever you want, whenever you want it, with things like Spotify and Apple Music and Pandora. Mm-hmm. Do you think, again, tastes are coming around to this idea that there's a certain appeal to sort of having to listen to a thing at a certain time? And do you see just a general future in that? I mean, obviously you must if you've done it, but I'm curious to know your thoughts.
Well, I think radio is dying, terrestrial radio. I think it's been dying for quite some time. And I don't think it's because of the listeners. I think it's because of radio. And radio has pushed the listeners away.
Right.
And now they're getting, just like we talked about with Zoom or anything like that in technology, especially with Rona, we've been forced to learn technology that maybe we wouldn't have paid attention to before. Radio has forced people years ago to start looking for other avenues for listening pleasure, because radio just got too fat and happy. I think with Pandora and Spotify and all that stuff, that for us, we look at KILPOP radio as Pandora with a soul.
Okay.
Right. Because people say, oh, you guys are like Pandora. And I'm like, well, yeah, but we are a radio station that is programmed by a human being, not an algorithm. And we have fun stuff in between the songs. You get a terrestrial radio listening experience for the most part, right?
Right.
But you can take it anywhere you want to go. It's free. There's no commercials. And so what I've done, I've taken the best of radio and pulled it with me. And I left the shittiness behind, right? Terrestrial radio isn't giving listeners enough credit, in my opinion, from what I can tell. They just play the same exact stuff over and over again. And it's very, very niched. If you want to listen to AC/DC, well, you've probably got three choices, but if you want AC/DC, it's this. If you want to listen to Eminem, it's this. If you want to hear hip hop or anything. So Pandora, people go to Pandora and they say, oh, I like Tool, and then you get anything that's kind of related to Tool, right? Well, that's an algorithm. That's not a person. I know that I'm going to start with the base that you love Tool. I'm going to start with the base that you love Korn and System of a Down, and that sort of foundational era, right? That late 90s, mid to late 90s is going to be the foundation. And I'm going to hand pick and hand program everything. I'm not going to just throw it on and all of a sudden you get some weird shit and you're like, I love this. I love Tool, but why I'm hearing this weird thing? We are a music app with a soul, with a heart, with a pulse. Where terrestrial radio is wrong is they're not really in the digital age. A lot of them aren't. They're still dealing with, how it was in 1995. They don't want to be, I don't know. They don't want to hear the same song every hour.
Yeah. And I wonder if they've got all these options. So you got to give them something that.
Absolutely. But at the same time, where I've taken the best of radio, and the smartest thing about radio is the bottom line is when people get into the car, they want to punch the radio up or whatever it is they're listening to, and they want to know what it is. Then they want to be able to sing it and rock out or whatever, dance, whatever it is they do. And they want to know that song.
Right.
So it still has to be hit driven as much as you can.
Sure.
Because if you don't play the hits, they're out. As much as people complain about hearing give it away now, and I hate the Red Hot Chili Peppers, but I tell you what, you got to play that song, because when people get in the car, they'll complain. They'll tell their friends, I'm sick of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Rah, 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 rah. They get in the car, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Give It Away's on. They're like, boom, give it away. because that's what we do. We get in the car and we sing and we dance and we rock out. KILPOP radio is like, okay, I got to put the hits in there. I have to, but I'm going to give you a couple cool little like nuggets that no one else is doing to not give you the full radio ridiculousness, but also not give you the cold algorithm of a Pandora.
Speaking of music not chosen by a cold, pitiless algorithm, here are two more hand-picked selections for your consideration. First up, this is Gringo and the Guajolote. I'm Brennan Storr, she's Carlota, and you're listening to Largely the Truth.
We got to live in love. Yeah, yeah. Got to live in love. Well, too much class division. Faith without works. So many different kinds of religion. Faith without works. Too much class division. Faith without works. So many different kinds of religion. Still faith without works. Look into my eyes. Tell me, what do you see? Is it the man I am, or straight fallacy? Who roam the entire earth, creating civilization. Nubian Kush set the right, correct foundation. Too much class division. Faith without works. So many different kinds of religion. Still faith without works. Stolen minds and artifacts. Put in museums. Scrolls and knowledge under the Vatican. Aboriginal Tasmanian. Indigo American.
works. So many different kinds of religion. Still faith without works. Too much class division. Faith without works. So many different kinds of religion. Still faith without works. Must make our differences. That is paramount. Be proud of who you are. Put ignorance aside. Put it aside. In every garden, variety's the spice of life. We all have opinions, but the truth will always abide. Too much class division. Faith without works. So many different kinds of religion. Faith without works. Too much class division. Faith without works. So many different kinds of religion. Still faith without works.
For as the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without works is dead also. Book of James, chapter 2, verse 26. Y'all didn't know I knew Bible stuff, did you? Of course, that means you gotta back up your words with actions, my friends. Only then do they mean anything at all. And teaching us that little lesson was Donovan King J and his single, Faith Without Works. As I mentioned before, that was Gringo and the Wahalote and Shifting of the Pyramid from their Brujeria album. And of course, shout out to my favorite Brujo, Michael. Speaking of backing up your words with actions, someone who absolutely does that is my guest tonight. She is, of course, Carlota, founder of KILPOP Radio, and we are here talking about the magic of radio itself. And something that we did, or I shouldn't say we, because my show at Stoke FM couldn't be live because I wasn't actually in the same town as the station, but a friend of mine who had a 2-hour show on there, his thing was he would do the music and the talk, but he would also respond to tweets on air. So people would kind of talk at him. It was sort of like a call-in line without having to worry about a producer and picking up the phone and all that shit.
Yeah.
And I tell you, man, that stuff like that, to me, was just so involving because I
engaged.
That's it. I remember one night, and the story I always tell is I was over in Vancouver. I'd just come out of a live show of the podcast, Last Podcast on the Left. And I was just kind of bummed out. The audience was really, really gross. I was just really in a bad place. Went to a diner, grabbed a burger and a coffee, just kind of sat there, sitting in my misery. And then I remembered Jim's show was on. And so I fired up at the time, they also had a simultaneous web stream. So I fired up the web stream, plugged in my headphones as I was sitting at the counter, and, tweeted something at him. And when he came back from the next break, boom. Oh, hey, we've got Largely the Truth out there. How's, this, and this. And just that ability to reach out and feel like a human voice is out there was hugely inspiring. I mean, that's ultimately what inspired me to get on the radio. Yeah. And so that's something I've been enjoying listening to KILPOP is hearing you pop on and just, there's a person here. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We have a pulse, we are human beings back here. Pandora and Spotify are big and great and whatever they're doing. But if you're a rock fan, if you really like rock music and anything kind of related, whether it be punk or whatnot, I've got your station, right? I've got it. You don't have to punch it up on your Pandora because we're going to be here and we're going to be having fun. We're going to be talking shit. And you're still going to get your music. So you're going to have that connectedness that you're talking about, because that is the best part of radio. The best part of radio is being connected to the listener, and the listener being connected to the station itself, usually a personality. I have come across in my career so many people that walk up to me and they go, Carlota, what's up? And I'm like, what's up? How are you? Blah, 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 blah. Hugs. How's the family? Blah, 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 whatever. And they walk away and whoever I'm with will go, who's that? And I'll be like, I don't know. I have no idea. And they'll be like, but you talk to them like you know them. And I said, because I do. They listen to me every day. I'm in their car. I'm in their, wherever, I'm in their bedroom or their shower or their kitchen or whatever they're doing. I'm there and I'm talking to them. And for them, I am their best friend or one of their best friends. And if I go, who are you? I mean,
yeah.
Is that the worst thing ever?
You may as well shoot the relationship right in the face. Like that's
right
what that
in
is.
the face. And that is it. We have a relationship.
Yeah.
I may have never totally seen you face to face yet, but we have a relationship. And that's what KILPOP Radio offers, is that connectiveness, that relationship. You can still have the one-on-one, buddy system with your radio with us, unlike Pandora or Spotify.
There is something so intimate about that audio format. In addition to doing this show, which I do for patrons of my podcast, and the podcast is kind of a storytelling thing focused on the paranormal, on ghosts and things like that. What I'm finding is we've been doing it for 4 years now, and people will kind of feel a connection. And that was weird for me at first, because I'm Canadian, right? You're used to shit not working out.
Right.
You're used to doing shit and no one caring.
Right.
So yeah, and we had a letter from a woman in, I want to say October 2016, 2017 rather. It was our first year. And she was sharing some extraordinarily intimate stuff with us. And it really kind of threw me because it felt real for the first time. And I thought, oh, holy shit, people care and people connect. And as you say, you have to return. I mean, obviously you can't have like a friendship with every one of them, but you need to have a relationship. You need to acknowledge their value, because it's so easy to step on that.
Absolutely. And when I'm training somebody to be on the air, because I've done a lot of that, I've taught radio personalities how to be on the radio. That's the number one say. I said, you know what you do is you are sitting with a very good friend in a bar, having a beer, talking about whatever. Oh my God, what's up, man? How are you?
Yep.
Oh, dude, did you know Tool is going to hit the road? Oh my God, they're going to be in Vegas on January 15th. Tickets go on sale, I think Saturday. Yeah, man, it's going to be rad. Here's Tool on KILPOP Radio. So that's how I tell people, like, you got to understand that you are talking to a person out there. Just because you got a microphone in your face or a computer in your face or whatever it is, there's a person listening to you, and they are listening to you. There could be 250,000 people listening to you, but you got to talk to them one-on-one.
Right. I'm
not a fan of, hey, everybody, that took that whole one-on-one connection away. Because now you're just like, oh, I'm like, what's up, party people? That's for live and on the stage in front of 50,000 people. But on the radio, it's a one-on-one connection, and I feel that because that's been such a huge thing with me my whole career.
This is Narima.
Did you take a walk where nobody had ever gone before? Or did you run where nobody goes? Did you fall asleep in heaven where the angels soar? Or did you fall where the demons roam? Is it hard keeping every tongue you tie? Or did you want to lose every war? Is it hard falling into dreams every night? Or
That was Norima and Home. And so I'm really curious, as someone who really loves the movie Talk Radio and the was kind of fascinated by the book Talk to Death about, is it Alan Berg?
Uh-huh.
Have you ever been in a situation where someone takes it too far? Where they're really...
Yeah. Oh my God, dude. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Woo-hoo! I had one stalker for 2 years. I think he was 2 years. And he wrote me a manifesto about how him and I were together 2,000 years ago. This was in the year 2002. So he would write it like, oh, we were together for 2,000 years and, or whatever, 2,000 years ago. And, you know, he was Jesus and I was Mary Magdalene. So, you know, and I was like, thanks for that. But,
cool.
But anyways, he went to everything I did, always showed up. He turned out to be harmless.
Right.
But, and then I had another guy that would show up everywhere. And then I had a girl, and the girl was the scariest one.
Really?
Yeah, man, because she would write me like cryptic notes on her Facebook, and like, I didn't know it, you know, but I was told to look, and I looked and I was like, oh God. And then I got all these messages from, you know, she was stalking me in a park or something. And
oh man.
Showed up to the radio station and was staring at me because she had sent cryptic messages about me meeting her somewhere or something. And told her boyfriend, she left her boyfriend for me. Like I never even.
Man.
Yeah. And so like, she was like, don't worry, he won't hurt you. You know, I'm like, what? I don't even know who you are. Like, I didn't know I was so, I had to call the cops. I had to do the whole, like, you know, get away from me thing. And her family called me and they're like, well, we don't know what your intentions are. I'm like, I don't even know who the fucking people are. I don't know who you are. I don't know who she is. I swear to God. And they're like, oh my God, she's lost her mind. I'm like, yeah, she's lost her mind. Like,
holy
get away
shit.
From her. So yes, I've had, but you know, I haven't even had the worst. I had a coworker who, some dude followed her home with a gun.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he was like, some crazy. Another woman I worked with, she like some dude show up to the remotes with his big ass knife and like and say weird shit to her. And he showed up at the station one time with it. And, you know, just, yeah, people can be a little, I had even a thing just recently where somebody was being weird on my Facebook. And like, sending me weird messages like, you don't think I'm cute, or you don't think and I'm like, I don't even know who you are.
God.
Oh yeah. So it can be pretty nuts, but at the same time, you know, it's been a long career and I've had a few, but I've made a lot of really great friends who were listeners that, you know, would show up to a lot of things that I did, and we became friends.
Right.
So I've had the flip of it too. You know, I've met a lot of great people.
So another thing I'm curious about, you mentioned training people. Who are the kind of people who are gravitating towards radio these days? Are there still as many people gravitating towards radio, or is that sort of,
you know, there's still a lot of people who want to do this, right? So like KILPOP radio in particular, I have a lot of people wanting to be on KILPOP radio, like a lot. And the cool thing is that the passion for it is what is up front and center.
Right.
And it's clear. It's the passion. It's the passion for the format. It's the passion for what we're doing, how we're doing it. It's kind of old school in many ways. So yeah, there's still a lot of people who really love this platform and want to be a radio star, you know? It's because it's still really cool. I mean, you know, you're doing it. It's still really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. A couple of years ago, when I was still on Stoke FM, I played a track from a young gal who was from town and had just signed a contract with a label out on the coast. And on her Instagram, she took a little video of the radio, and it was just the radio in the dark with the time in LED lighting up the frame a little bit, and it was playing her song. And I can't tell you how happy that made me. That there was this kid listening to the radio in her room at night, the way I used to, but she was also listening to her music on there. And it was just the greatest feeling, man. And so there's still so much magic there. And it's so reassuring to know there are other people out there who feel the same way. So we're getting close to the end here on Largely the Truth, but we are not quite there yet. We have 2 more sets of music before it's time to shut out the lights. This is Sea of Troubles and Regicide.
Heaven
We are back here on Largely the Truth, and we are getting close to the finish line, but we're not quite there yet. That was the LA-based Rainy Days for Ghosts and Heartbeat from their Division EP. So, stepping away from radio, you also do a lot of other stuff to keep yourself going, because apparently running a radio station wasn't enough to keep you busy.
No, you know what happened is when COVID hit, everything slowed down, obviously.
Right.
And at the time, all I had was just my radio show or whatever. And, I had KILPOP a lot to do. And so then I all of a sudden I had free time. And I was also known for my charitable work. I would always kind of use my platform and my audience to help people. And so somebody called me and they were like, hey, do you want to help us get masks and gloves and stuff or whatnot to hospitals? And I was like, sure, and so I started in on it, and then it rolled into this. All of a sudden I'm in the middle of a commodities situation, and I'm on the phone with people from all over the world and talking about gloves and masks and getting this stuff to different countries and
oh wow,
all this really crazy stuff. And then I lost my job. And so then it became even more, because right. And it was work, and I'm on the phone and I'm doing sales and I'm using my personality just as I did on the radio, but in a different way. And then that turned into, because one of the very first people I worked with was a guy that was in the cannabis industry. In fact, a lot of people in the cannabis industry moved into PPE because it was a commodity, just like cannabis.
Fascinating.
So I ended up working with him and ended up in a CBD and cannabis and that sort of world. And then one of my partners that I work with as well is into gold. That's what he does. He's in gold. And so gold even slowed down, way down when Rona started, and now it's back up. And so I'm learning about how gold is traded and, what things mean and all the shenanigans that go with it. Because PPE is like the worst of everything I've ever seen in my life. It is the most awful. You see the worst of humanity. Like there's so many war crimes that have occurred the last year that I've witnessed myself, with people making sure that hospitals didn't get the PPE they needed because they needed to, launder money or whatever.
Holy shit.
Yeah. I mean, I've talked to the Russian mob, the cartel,
Jesus.
The FBI, like all these people, it's all there. It's a movie, dude. It's a movie. And what I've experienced the last year in that space. And I've seen the worst of the worst. Like it's the most horrible side of humanity I've witnessed in PPE. But CBD, on the other hand, is not. It is real people doing real business. I deal with CBD that is wholesale. So it is big amounts that go to like pharmaceutical companies and things like that so they can make CBD products.
So now are you dealing with the actual sort of with the actual plant matter, or is it oil by the time it's reached you?
All of it.
Okay.
All of it. Plant, flower, seeds, clones, all that, oil, distillate, isolate, all of it. D8, this 8, what 8, Y8, all of it. It's just all of it I have available to me. So, so I fell into that, and now I, do that and radio because, why not?
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, the world opens to you. You may as well take advantage of it.
For sure. Yeah. And I met a lot of great people. And, I met a lot of crazy people too. Yeah. But commodities, man, is not for the faint of heart. I can tell you that right now.
All right. So we've got one last set of music for you, and then it's time for us to head off into the night. This one's going to be a set of 4, starting with The Real Frost and 10-999.
Do you remember the cage? Where your shelter closed in tightly, and the big songs of loved ones and sex belong. Thought you seasick nightly. And God, we pretend feel like I'm alive. I'm alive. When I look up to the sky, keeping myself from falling high. It makes me feel like I'm alive. I'm alive.
All right, welcome back to Largely the Truth. That was our final set of music. That was a set of 4. That set finished with a brand new single from the electronic band Solaris. That was Stay Alive. Before that was a little more Canadian content. That was Denzel Gordon and the Unlynchables with Teeth. And I sourced that on the Black and Loud compilation I mentioned at the top of the show. But you can also find that track on their Symphony EP. And I think there was one more in there aside from the one we started with. Yes, that was... Oh yeah, of course. Josiah Mason and Space Junk. So over the course of the last 2 hours, we have had the immense privilege of talking with Carlota, founder of KILPOP Radio, and we're just about to wrap things up here, but not quite yet.
And you know what's funny is I think of The Big Short,
right.
That movie
Yep.
about the housing crash. That's how I see the movie of PPE. I mean, because people will tell you, oh, they circumvent you like crazy. So they'll tell you like, oh, you know, the 5-star general just walked in and took all the gloves from the factory. It's all bullshit. But
right.
I you know, but that's the lie. Or the president, especially when Trump was president. Oh my God, it was always like, oh, the president came in and bought all the gloves. You know, it's like bullshit. He did not. But I picture in the movie like, you know, Trump on the phone like, hey, Mike. Yeah, you got 500 million of the cranberry gloves, a 300 count? Yeah, dude. Yeah, what are the comms on that? I need to know what the commission structure is. Oh, dude, it's 30, you know. And that's what I want in the movie. It's like the ridiculous stories and stuff that we would hear, all the fake shenanigans stuff. It's crazy, dude. It's a crazy thing. I'm going to write a movie.
I will watch that movie several times over. I got to know, though, because I'm endlessly fascinated by things like the Russian mob and the cartels.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned sort of schemes, you know, like to sort of keep the PPE out of where it needs to be because there is a way to possibly, you know, increase commission, things like this. Can you walk me through a very general idea of like what the strategy was there?
In general, as a PPE deal?
Yeah. So you mentioned, again, why someone would withhold it and sort of how that translates to greater profit for them. I'm just curious about the process. Yeah, the money laundering of it. Yeah,
money laundering for one. Yeah, money laundering is the big one. So you say you buy a box of gloves. There's a lot of price gouging going on, or whatever it is. But let's say you buy a box of gloves for $10, right?
Right.
What they would do is they would buy it for $10. And then they would flip it for 18 or whatever.
Right.
And, you know, and they would have partners involved so that then the partner comes in and buys it for 18 and you know, and the money kind of just goes through there. Or people looking for like 500 billion glove boxes, which just doesn't exist. It's all paper. But if you do it, then you can move paper. And if you're moving paper, you can money launder. It's
right.
it's pretty savvy and it's really intense. I had somebody tell me that $19 billion didn't wet their beak enough. That's what the kind of money they were going to make off of it.
With a B.
It didn't wet their beak. $19 billion. B with a boy, like boy, billion.
Wow.
Not enough money for me, man. That's what he told me.
I can't even wrap my head around that. I
know. Believe me, the greed is ridiculous. Like, it's ridiculous. It's frustrating and it's ugly, dude. And that's what I mean by war crimes. Like, people literally need, nurses and doctors and whatnot literally need this equipment. They need the masks, they need the gloves, they need the oxygen concentrators or whatever it is. And there are people in the middle who are price gouging and causing holdups of those people getting what they need over being able to flip it and money launder and make ridiculous amounts of money on top of it. It's insane.
I can't even get my head around it. I was listening to a podcast recently and they were interviewing a filmmaker who sort of saw the pandemic coming. He was one of these guys who was reading the news out of China and just had a feeling as though, you know, this is going to be an issue. So he would, whenever he was somewhere, he would buy gloves, that he would buy sanitizer and send it home to his wife, and she thought he was fucking nuts. But as it turned out, of course, he was not. And he said that he was in the LA area, and obviously they realized we have too much of this shit. You know, we're fine, we're locked down. And so he made it be known that he had this to donate. And he said the hospital was so desperate for this kind of stuff, they sent a doctor over, not a runner, not a nurse, a doctor came to personally collect hand sanitizer and gloves. And so when you hear that, and that's going on, and now you hear about this, it's just it's so, again, hard to get your head around the callousness of it.
Oh, it really is. I mean, when I first started it, because I was doing it for good reason, whatever. And now then it turned into, well, maybe I can make money, right? Obviously. But it was like, I don't know, man. It really is the bottom of the barrel of humanity. Like the bottom, the actual scrap, the stuff you got to get off the bottom.
Yeah.
That's humanity that I deal with daily.
Now, do you ever find that does it ever touch you? Do you ever kind of feel like, oh, Jesus, I need to shower, or I got to go, like, soak myself in salt, or sit in a sage fire? Really? Okay.
All the time. Yeah, it's such an ugly business. But having said that, I have met some incredible people, and it will have its place in my life. Right? Like it will. I'll be like, oh, that whole year of just awful, but I'm here because of that.
Well, Carlota, thank you so much for hanging out. This has been a ton of fun. I enjoy the hell out of chat with you.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it. Yeah.
So where can everyone find you? What's the stuff you want to promote and tell everyone sort of check out? What's your call to action, I guess?
Well, KILPOP Radio is the number one thing. It's KILPOP, so 1L. KILPOP Radio. It's a free download. It's a free app. You can just boom, no commercials and all that. You can also find us at KILPOP.com. That's very simple as well. And then we're on all over the socials. We got Face Twat, which is KILPOP easy. We have InstaTwit, which is We Are KILPOP. And we have Twitter, Twatter, which is We Are KILPOP. And and that's what we're doing, man. But KILPOP Radio is the number one thing that I want people to find, because we are here, we are rocking, and everything goes off that. So, folks, make sure to check out KILPOP. Independent radio is like 4-leaf clovers. They're not very common, and when you find one, you got to hang on to it, because by God, we need it more than ever. We need it. So again, thank you so much, and I hope to get to talk to you again soon. Thank you, sweetheart. I really appreciate you. And that's the ballgame. If you want to hear more from me, you can find me telling stories of the strange and unusual over at the Ghost Story Guys podcast. That's ghoststoryguys.com and everywhere fine podcasts live. Become a patron and get a ridiculous amount of bonus content. That's patreon.com/ghoststoryguys. I was also recently interviewed on the Haunted AF podcast. That is out now. I believe the episode title is something like Ghost Hunting in My Tidy Whities, or something to that effect. And I will also be on an upcoming episode of Adkins Undisputed, the world's most complete Scott Adkins podcast. I will be talking about the film Zero Tolerance. So if you want to check that out, I believe that'll be out in about 2 weeks from the time you hear this. And you'll be able to get that yet again everywhere fine podcasts live. Big thanks to Peter of Pizzanta Music for his fabulous theme song. You can find more from him by searching for Pizzanta Music wherever you stream your tunes. His latest album, 1989, is on streaming platforms everywhere. Huge thanks to Carlota, founder of KILPOP Radio, for taking time out of her day to come chat with me. If you're not already listening to KILPOP, make sure you do. Again, KILPOP.com. You can get the app on iTunes or Android. I know I've got it, and I listen to it in my car whenever I'm out there, and love the hell out of it. Radio is not dead, folks. It is just evolving, and there is nothing more exciting than progress. Big thanks too to Mel O, host of the podcast Finance is the Other F Word, for hooking me up with Carlota. Mel's a great person. Her show is really informative. If you want to know more about what's going on in the world through the lens of finance, make sure to check out Finance is the Other F Word. And I may or may not have turned up on a recent episode talking about Tulip Mania as the current NFT craze.
Finally, I want to thank you for listening. Without you, there wouldn't be much point. Until next time, I hope the night takes you to the same strange and wonderful places it takes me. And remember, if you're not sure what comes next, put a call out into the dark. You never know who's going to pick up. I'll see you next time.